What's happening, everybody? Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live here on rumble.com/LFATV. The Democrats leave Memorial Day weekend in complete and utter shambles. They do not know which way is up. Things are not looking very good for the Democrats. AOC taking a commanding lead over Chuck Schumer in a presumptive 2026 primary poll here in New York. The leader of the Democratic Party may be revealed by the current and soon not to be VP of the Democratic National Convention, as David Hogg says that the leader of the Democratic Party is... You'll have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see who that is. Democrats also spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to, quote, reach out to young men. Well, I've got a feeling that's not going to go very well. It turns out after decades and decades and decades and decades of telling men that every natural inclination they've ever had is completely toxic and makes them prone to things like rape, maybe they don't want to be like you. Maybe they don't want to be like you. But there's more than that. There is more than that behind the reason for the intense shiftward right over the past 20 years of American young men. We're going to dive into that. Also, President Trump planning to pull money out of Harvard and put it into trade schools, which I'm sure will only incentivize more young men to join the party. Giddy up. Let's go, guys. Do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Let's get rocking. Let's get rolling today. Before we get started, guys, do me a favor and head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. Check out... Oh, well, what are we doing here? Oh, no. What did I do here? Where is it? Let's get it. Let's click the right button, Kevin. I know we took a day off, but that doesn't mean we can screw around here. There it is. There's all the good stuff. Guys, go to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. You guys can use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. For my drinking buddies out there, check out the Michelob Ultra shirt. Oh, yeah. It looks like a Michelob Ultra, but it definitely isn't. For the lawyers out there, absolutely not. Guys, head on over at loudmajorityusa.com. Use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. So, let's get rocking. Democrats continue to find themselves in a very, very bad way. In 2024, they lost almost every single demographic imaginable. Every racial demographic and every age demographic. They continue to lose upwards, leftways, downways, and sideways. So, one of the most historically, reliably, Democratic voters are, of course, young people. When you're young, you're enthusiastic. When you're young, you're idealistic. And then eventually you grow up. But the Democrats have been so radical for so long that young men in particular are saying, no, thank you. So the Democrats have now launched a $20 million plan to try to win back young men after spending decades calling them toxic. This is hilarious. This is... I have a feeling this probably isn't going to go the way the Democrats want. We all remember the white dudes for Harris. That went up like a lead balloon. The Democrats still don't know why they lost so badly in the 2024 election. This from the Post-Millennial. And their attempt to figure it out and remedy the situation lies in a new program they're calling the Speaking with American Men, a Strategic Plan. That's too long. Its nickname is SAM, which brings to mind Uncle Sam and the We Want You World War II military initiative. Quote, 6 months after President Trump swept in the battleground states, the Democratic Party is still sifting through the wreckage, said the New York Times. Democrats have claimed for years that men were toxic. Governor Gavin Newsom has blamed mass shootings on toxic masculinity. I'm sure it's not SSRIs or hooking kids up to Ritalin or making young men have absolutely no discipline whatsoever, hooking them onto pornography, giving them vapes, giving them basically no discipline and no structure in their lives whatsoever, taking away all of their contact sports because it could lead to concussions later on in life. I'm sure it has nothing to do with any of those things, but the innate toxicity in teenage men. Every problem the Democrats have, they don't understand that maybe the solution to that problem is not a singular thing. Well, there's mass shootings. There's men doing the mass shootings. Therefore, men bad doing the mass shootings. No. I don't know. Maybe start letting young boys be boys again. Getting out some of that anger, send them outside, get them off the phones, get them off the Minecraft, stop playing video games, maybe go to the gym every now and again. Learn to build something. Spend some time with your father, if he happens to be in the house, which, you know, for most men is not the case, which I think is probably the leading problem in all of this. But hell, what the hell? Well, what do I know? I'm not an expert like Gavin Newsom. President Joe Biden spoke to Morehouse grads and told them that Republicans' quote, idea of a man is being toxic. Kamala Harris's loss to Trump was attributed by many on the left to institutional misogyny and toxic masculinity. The entire Me Too movement painted men as predators and women as vulnerable, brave truth tellers. Yet Democrats continue to wonder why men left the party in droves. In response, the Democrats are taking action, and their first target is American young men. Democratic donors and strategists, writes the New York Times. First off, I want to be clear. Democratic strategist, that's about as useful as a bucket of steam or a left-handed hammer, have been gathering in luxury hotels to discuss how to win back the working class voters, commissioning new projects that can read like an anthropological study of people from faraway places. Yeah, we need more of that. The new initiatives from the Democratic Party is targeted at 20 million. And per the Times, aims to reverse the erosion of Democratic support among young men online. You see, for a long time, for the last couple of years, Democrats have sat back and they've said, we need a Joe Rogan. We need someone like Joe Rogan. My response to that is, you had someone like Joe Rogan. His name was Joe Rogan. You had Andrew Schultz. You had Charlemagne the God. You had all the comedians. You had Hollywood. You had everything. And it turns out you guys just couldn't stop the crazy train. You couldn't just pull the reins back a little bit and go, hey, maybe we're the problem. Nope. It's been almost 10 years since the Democrats have been entirely confused as to why they've lost so much ground, both politically and in the broader culture. They've still got the academic institutions and the nonprofits tied up to their ideologies. They've still got Hollywood and the arts, but they've lost the people and they don't know why. It turns out no one cares. I promise you, there is not a single voter, be it Democrat or Republican, that sat back before this election and they were like, you know, I'm kind of on the fence about who to vote for. Let me go listen to Steve Kerr, the coach of the Golden State Warriors. Let me go listen to Robert De Niro, the guy who just got an award for playing the same character 100 consecutive times. Let me go listen to Bruce Springsteen, a man who has written songs for 40 years about the working class while being worth just under a couple $100 million. No one sat back and was like, you know, I wasn't going to vote for Kamala Harris, but since Cardi B, who is a professional whore, I mean, look at her past. I didn't know what I was going to do. It turns out, for the last 20, 30 years, in high schools, we forced young men to go to colleges to study things they didn't care about, miring them in credit card debt, stopping them from being able to build a family, making housing prices so damn expensive they can never move in with their girlfriends to start a marriage, start a family. We can't do any of those things. And now young men are running away. And because young men are running away, Democrats are starting to realize that the future is conservative. But why? But why is the future conservative? You may ask, Kevin. Why? Kevin, what the hell do you know? You don't have any kids. You're right, I don't. However, I did grow up in this entire atmosphere. I watched it all happen in real time. And I'm going to tell you why. Because about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the left got really afraid of the future. Climate change is going to kill us all. You can't have multiple children. That would be bad for the environment. The best thing you can do to stop your carbon footprint is to not have any kids. That was 10, 20, 30 years ago. We've strayed away from religion. We'll get to that in a minute. Religious people tend to have more children. It's just a fact. And in fact, the more religious you are, the more kids you have. Just ask the Mormons. They each have like 9 kids. That's all they do. All they do is, knock door to door and make babies. But it's more than that. For the past 10, 20, 25 years, my entire life pretty much, Democrats have been pushing 2 primary agendas. The LGBTQAAIP plus movement, which, hate to break it to you, but that doesn't make babies. And the abortion movement. So while conservative Christians, conservative religious folks, whatever religion that may be, were out there making babies for the last 20 years, Democrats were pushing sterilizing your children. Not having kids because one time we got a video of a polar bear floating on a piece of ice. And of course, aborting them altogether. So why is it shocking to some Democrats that the future looks conservative? As a matter of fact, the only age group that Democrats won were the extreme baby boomers, the people over the age of 65. I think they might have won a little bit of Gen X. But the future continues to look conservative. And there's no grand social reasoning for this. The big reason is, for the last 30 years, Republicans have simply been outbreeding Democrats. We're just having more kids. Ask your favorite Jewish friends how many kids they have, and then ask your favorite liberal friend how many kids they have. I promise you, one number will be exceedingly higher. And because of that, we are starting to see not only a rise in republicanism among young men, but we are starting to see a return to faith amongst the youngest people. Here's Tim Pool and Bill Maher, of all people, discussing that.
You're obviously an atheist.
Yes.
Famously. Religious. Yes. I saw it when you put it out.
Oh,
and
good. Thank you.
I know I was lapsed Catholic, briefly atheist. Now I'm not Christian. I don't like the word deist. But the future, we're seeing this massive push towards Christianity, and like young people are adopting it.
What do you make of that?
Well, one thing I think is true is that conservatives had more kids in the 2000s. I know a lot of people want to claim these ideological victories where they say, like, we've red-pilled people. And I've pointed this out for years. No, just in like 2003, there were a couple studies that came out saying that liberals were having less kids than conservatives. Well, 20 years later, what do you expect to see? There's going to be more conservative people than liberal people just because the parents had kids.
Right.
I do think also that one of the more interesting trends, however, is that among Gen Z, irrespective of that, there's been a rightward ideological shift among men. And I think this has to do with contemporary politics, movies, games, culture, etc.
And also men feeling that they were targeted unfairly. There is a lot of toxicity in being maleness. Some of that we can't control. Some of that is just how we're born. We were drawn that way. You know, boys are going to be more rambunctious in school. They're going to be harder to discipline. Yeah. They're going to have more excess energy. And we kind of we went, like we do with everything, went overboard and made it seem sometimes like maleness itself was on trial.
It's like a race to the bottom.
So it's not, what?
It was a race to the bottom of all these different cultural elements trying to one up what was wrong with masculinity.
Yeah, kind of. And it's not surprising that they would run to Trump.
Yep.
Run to Trump. Now, what does the future look like? If young men started to run to Donald Trump, what does the future look like in 2028? Well, you got working class guy, father wasn't around, mother was on the needle, did a stint in the military, came out, graduated Ohio State, went to Yale, showed everybody that just some random guy from Middleton, Ohio could make it all the way to the vice presidency. The American dream story. But Democrats have a plan, everyone. Democrats have a plan, and we're going to get to that in 1 minute because there's no way this works. There's no way whatsoever this is going to work for the Democrats. Before we get to that, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, we're talking about Old Glory Bank. That's right, that's my bank. Why? Because they aren't just a bank. They are the bank that stands for freedom, for free speech, and constitutional rights. This bank doesn't cave to the cancel culture mob. Old Glory Bank is more than just dollars and cents. It's about principle, and switching banks has never been so easy, guys. Head on over to oldglorybank.com/loudmajority right now and let them know the big guy sent you. So, MSNBC has decided that they're interested in this plan. They're interested in this little nugget about bringing more men onto the scene. How are we going to do that, guys? How are we going to bring more men in? Well, here is one of the guys they decided to bring in to talk about trade. And what his answer is apparently men just aren't good at trade policy. Now, when I show you this guy, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who the hell he is. But can we add him to the list of totally dainty, weak-ankled, never had a callus on his hands, probably can't change a tire, one of those guys who wear pants that don't match their shoes, that don't come all the way down to their shoes? Can we add this guy to the list?
Katie, I've been working on a theory. It's this. Maybe men are too emotional to run trade policy. Maybe we simply lack the hormonal steadiness to look ahead.
Maybe you need a pair of knee-high leather boots.
Katie, this could go all sorts of places, but I'm going to keep us on economics. Wow. Okay. It is true that there's an approach to economic policy making where what you do is you think, what is it I want to do? Where do I want to be in the future? And you implement that. You announce a policy, it's done, it's all over. There's no soap opera, no telenovela. You have your nerds crunch some numbers, you announce them, the world knows what it's doing, and then the world can turn its attention to doing business. That's not what this White House is doing. And at the moment, no trade policy that this president has announced has a lifespan longer than a cicada. And as a result, it's very hard to do business with cicadas. It's also very hard to do business with the rest of the world if you don't know the terms on which you're doing it. So there's two things going on here. It's important to keep your eye on both of them. One, there's a genuine tariff shock. He's shutting us off from the rest of the world. A 50% tariff on the EU would effectively be an embargo. You're going to walk into a liquor store, there'll be no French wines, no Spanish wines. You're going to walk into your restaurateur is going to tell you that they're running out of money because restaurants make most of their money from the markup on those fancy foreign wines.
Oh no, guys. It turns out one of the guys who is part of the strategic plan to win back young men is very upset that when you walk into your liquor store, you won't be able to get Spanish wine. Now, we're going to put the live chat up onto the screen real quick. Fellas, where my boys at? Where my boys at? Let me ask you. Do you know the difference between a Spanish wine, a French wine, an American wine, or whatever wine happens to be the cheapest thing on the shelf? That's the guy that's going to win you back young men. A dainty, strung out little bitch. I don't know. That's, with the exception of Jazz Hands Walls, I don't know. Yeah, you see, I'm getting the answers I want. We don't do fancy wines. We do beer and we do bourbon. We drink whiskey. We drink American whiskey. We drink American beers, Yingling. I don't know. In my mind, somehow I'm just not too concerned that when I go to a restaurant, that's my restaurateur, by the way, could there be any more of an elitist saying on planet A, my restaurateur will not be able to offer me my Spanish wine? Oh no, whatever will I do? Guys, MSNBC, you want to win back young men? Try going outside. Just go outside. Talk to some people. Drink Tito's, drink Jack Daniels. That's all you need. That's all you need. It's not that hard. It's not really that hard. What's up, everybody? I haven't said hello to the chat yet. We're going to keep making fun of Democrats because in this vein, there's another dainty little young man who pretended to be at a school shooting who now thinks he's important. He's got a message for all of you. Before we get to that, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA-TV related. Check out the LFA TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming monthly donors over at lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. Yeah, everybody knows. If you're from Long Island, you know where you make your wine? In your backyard. Okay? You find some old fat Italian lady, she's stepping on the grapes in one of them big wooden jugs. Come on. Everybody knows that's where you get your best wine. Everybody knows that's where you get your best wine. What's happening, Hazel? How are you? Fireboss, how you doing? Cap, sorry, couldn't be at Ronkonkoma today. But next week, we've got huge events all over Long Island. I'll be at Massapequa Day and Smithtown Day on the 1st. Come on down, say hello, meet some of the team. We've got some new team members you guys are going to want to meet. Absolutely. Very good stuff. Natalie, how are you? Also, shout out to the Knicks, baby, coming back. 2-1 against the Pacers. Let's go. I'm liking it, AC Knight. What's happening? Someone's in the Facebook chat. Someone named Linton or Leeton. Thanks for tuning in, bro. Thanks for tuning in. Giddy up. Let's go. Let's keep rocking and rolling here. Let's pop the live chat off. So, the current vice president of the Democratic National Committee, a kid that pretended to be at a school shooting and then stepped over the graves of his friends, stepped over the graves of his friends in order to get famous. He's got a message for how the Democrats are going to be able to come back from this, okay? And I hope he follows through. I really hope he follows through. As we are getting a Dow Jones update, up almost 700 points today. The market has rebounded continuously from Liberation Day. Giddy up, let's go. So David Hogg, the kid who wasn't at a school shooting and then pretended to be in order to become famous, he knows what the Democratic Party needs. And her name is Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett, I love her. She is amazing.
Yeah.
I think that people want to see somebody who fights and calls out the bullshit, ultimately. I think that's what Jasmine does, and we need a hell of a lot more people that are out there that are willing to do just that and call people out on their BS and not say, oh my God, Republicans are going to criticize me for saying this. Screw that. They're going to criticize you no matter what. So what we should be asking ourselves is, what are we really fighting for? Because we know it matters. And I think Jasmine is frankly the type of leader that we're really looking to support in some senses, right? Somebody who is out there that frankly doesn't give a damn what the other side, at least the elected Republicans in Congress say what they believe in. And at least even if you don't agree with her, you know what she stands for.
Yeah.
Because she makes it very clear. And people are really craving that right now. They don't want more politicians that say talking points that it doesn't even feel like they believe, or you don't even really know what they mean. They want somebody who's out there that says what they believe and doesn't care what somebody else thinks about it. They want that authenticity.
I don't know what Jasmine Crockett believes in. I know that she's anti-Trump, but that's about it. I have no idea what she stands for, except maybe for herself. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'm not even sure what she means when she says it, because she says it in multiple different accents. But let's check in on Jasmine Crockett, because Jasmine Crockett sits on the highly influential House Oversight Committee. Now, how she landed that, I have no idea. But if Democrats were to retake the House, she is ready to take over the House Oversight Committee in order to look into something called a meme coin. Now, I have no idea what that is. Sean, he talks about those things all the time. I don't know what that is, but she's going to look into it. She's ready to go. Guys, I give you 2 minutes of the future of the Democratic Party. It's beautiful. It's enjoy.
If the Democrats take over after the midterms next year, the House and or Senate, do you think they're going to push for investigations into Trump's family and the whole crypto acquisitions that he is getting?
Well, Alex, I'm glad you asked.
Oh, here we go.
Listen, so long as we end up taking the House, which I fully anticipate that we will do, and we are going to work hard to obviously help our Senate colleagues as well, then as someone who serves on the Oversight Committee and hopes to lead the Oversight Committee, I can guarantee you that we will do what we are supposed to do as constitutionally sworn members of the House, which means that we will conduct oversight. That means that we will investigate. We will look at whether or not this president himself has violated the emoluments clause as it relates to, say, such things as getting a $400 million plane from the Qataris. We also will make sure that we're looking into all these business deals that they have going on. I mean, think about it this way, Alex. They were going after Hunter because he sat on a board. Think about how much money they are raking in, whether we're talking about the next golf resort that they're setting up in Qatar, or whether we're talking about them leveling Gaza, as they've talked about how it would be great beachfront property, whether we're talking about this crypto scam, the scam that people didn't even want to walk into and show their faces. Let me tell you, there is no shortage of things for us to dig into and determine whether or not there have been not only violations of the law, but definitely violations of our Constitution as a whole.
Yep, show me the man, and I'll show you the crime. Typical commie, Marxist, bull. I held it in. There was a minute more of that, but I wanted to save all of you from having there. So let's just be clear about this. The future of the Democratic Party, according to the vice president of the DNC, is somebody who is mad that a company that builds golf courses is building a golf course. Also, of course, she had to make sure she shoehorned Gaza in there because nobody cares. Nobody cares. We are moving on. Not my monkey, not my circus. I don't care about Gaza. I hope Israel finishes it soon. Other than that, don't really care. Couldn't care in the slightest bit. Things I care about are things that are actually happening here in America. And one of the things that's happening, big news all over the place, is Donald Trump is planning on continuing with his plan to go after Harvard University. Now, I want to be clear about this. I want to make this very clear. I think the reason Donald Trump is going after Harvard is wrong. I do not think he should be going after them because of anti-Semitism. I think Donald Trump should be taxing all private colleges because private colleges have basically just become a tax shelter for rich people who have stupid kids who want to continue to further their legacy. The 9th, 10th generation at places like Harvard with a $53 billion endowment, you certainly do not need the $3 billion in taxpayer funds, particularly if President Trump goes through with his plan to put that money into trade schools. Now, you combine this, President Trump's plan to strip money from Harvard and put it into trade schools at a time where you're getting no taxes on overtime. All my New Yorkers here are going to understand this. Everybody living in a blue state, in a heavily unionized state, will understand this. You are going to see a boom in the trades. Plumbing, electrical, carpentry, iron workers, steam fitters, people that work on the MTA, cops, firemen. You're going to get a boom in these sort of civil service jobs that young people just don't want. Why? Because some of them will be ambitious enough to take out these jobs. And the ones that do, many of these civil service jobs, and I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this right now who have family in civil service, who, may be in it themselves. I know my brother watches later in the day. Brian, I'm sure you're going to enjoy that pay increase. You're going to start seeing a boom in this. More people building, more people completing civil service jobs, more overtime, less tax on overtime. And I want to be clear, the big beautiful bill, we're going to talk about it in a second, it's definitely going to blow out the debt. 100% it is. However, I would rather blow out the debt here in America than wasting $200 billion on the Ukrainian boondoggle. But let's get to the story. President Trump said on Monday that he's considered taking away $3 billion worth of federal grants from Harvard and giving them to trade schools across the country instead. This comes after President Trump has already stripped billions in grants and stopped the school from being able to enroll international students, which was, of course, paused by a judge. I don't think we should be allowing the influx of foreign students into many of our countries, into many of our colleges, I think all that does is inflate the prices for Americans, but once again, what the hell do I know? The Trump administration froze $2.2 billion in grants in April, coming after the school refused to comply with the administration's demands to reform on the famed campus. The Joint Task Force Against Anti-Semitism said the harassment of Jewish students is intolerable. It is time for elite universities to take the problem seriously and commit to meaningful change if they wish to continue to get taxpayer support. Now, look, I think that this is a dumb reason to do it. I think that they should just tax private colleges altogether. You want to save the taxing of public colleges? No problem with that. And I want to be clear. Some universities, let me see, public colleges with the largest endowments. Some of them are certainly very, very high on that list. If we go down, let's see which ones we find here. Boom, boom, boom. Public schools. Texas A&M. Oh, I'm sorry, the University of Texas System, $47 billion. University of Michigan, $19 billion. California system, $19 billion. University of Virginia, Ohio State, Michigan, but these are big schools. North Carolina, Penn State, Michigan State, all schools you've heard of before. Purdue, Indiana, billions and billions of dollars. Let's start with the private ones. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, MIT, University of Pennsylvania. Columbia, Northwestern, Johns Hopkins. They're going to do just fine. They're going to do just fine with their ridiculous endowments. We got to tax the billionaires. No, why don't we tax the billion-dollar institutions that are teaching our children to hate the country? Seems fairly simple to me. We're going to get to the big, beautiful bill in just 1 second because it does seem like it's going to face some hurdles very soon as it makes its way to the Senate. We'll tell you why when we come back. Here's Jeremy.
Oh, hey, folks. How you doing? Jeremy Harrell here, LFA TV. I was just reading up here on Fatty 15. Sounds kind of funny, right? It's not, though. Fatty 15 is a new supplement that we are taking here at LFA TV that I'm personally taking myself that has a nutrient in it called C15. And what is C15? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can thank our aquatic friends, the dolphins, for science figuring this out. The first breakthrough in 90 years about what the proper amount of C15 in your body can do. Every one of us wants peace. Every one of us wants to experience joy and a long life with our kids and our grandkids sitting in a setting like you see behind me. Well, there's one way that you can do that outside of eating right, having a good diet, exercising, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, but also taking supplements that our bodies just don't produce anymore because we're all breaking down, especially as we get older. Fatty 15 has a nutrient called C15, and what this does is it, first of all, repairs your old damaged cells and then kind of slows down the aging process of your cells, giving you longevity of life. And 72% of people taking Fatty 15 see massive benefits within 16 weeks. Some earlier, some later. But those benefits are absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Most people said their liver and heart health feels much better. A lot of people said that their skin is changing. They feel like they're healthier. Their metabolic system changes. And ladies and gentlemen, it's also vegan friendly. Now, Fatty 15 has 3 times the cellular benefits as any omega-3 or fish oil. Omega-3 and fish oil also can go bad after a while. By replenishing our cells with this C15 nutrient that I'm talking about in here, Fatty 15 effectively repairs cells and restores our long-term health. Now, I can get you a 15% off a 90-day subscription right now by going to fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. That's fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. And ladies and gentlemen, despite the name, it's not going to make you a fatty. It's actually going to give you something that you've been wanting for a long time, to feel younger again. Who doesn't want that? Fatty15.com/LFA, code LFA. Check it out now. Thank you guys so very much. Have a wonderful day.
Guys, check that out today. So, the big, beautiful bill now heads to the Senate, where, look, I don't know if it is going to pass as it currently stands. I would, if I were a betting man right now, and I said that the big beautiful bill goes to the Senate exactly the way it is written, my bet is it would go down, and it would go down by more than we think. As Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin says, there are enough GOP senators to stall the House budget bill. This from CNBC. Senator Ron Johnson said on Sunday that he thinks there are enough GOP colleagues on board with the opposition of the House's big, beautiful bill to stall its progress and make changes. The Wisconsin Republicans' remarks underscore the potentially difficult path ahead for the sweeping domestic policy package, which just narrowly passed the House last week. Now, as I said, the markets continue to remain confident. Up almost, what is that, a point and a half? Almost 700 points at midday. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, urges his Senate colleagues to not meddle with the bill too much. Fiscal hawks in the Senate have signaled they won't support a package in its current form. Yeah, and look, we knew this, okay? Ron Johnson, Rand Paul, they're fiscal hawks. They're going to hate this bill. They're absolutely going to hate it. And I want to be clear. There's a lot of stuff in this bill that I do not like. There's many things in this bill that I don't like. Am I going to pretend it's perfect? Not at all. Not even remotely close. But don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Quote, we have enough to stop the process until the president gets serious about spending cuts and reducing the deficit. I have no issue with that. I have no issue with that whatsoever. Senator Johnson said some of his Senate colleagues have raised concerns that the House bill will lead to skyrocketing federal deficits, a criticism that Johnson has brushed aside. Senator Johnson said that our first goal of the budget reconciliation process should be to reduce the deficit. This actually increases it, which he is correct about. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be honest. This definitely blows out the deficit. It blows out the deficit on tax cuts. So we're essentially we're taking in less money because we are allowed to keep more of our money, which I have no problem with. But there should be substantial cuts to things like the Pentagon. No, there is no, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're my best friend, if you are somebody in the industry that I consider a colleague. You are not going to convince me that more military spending is good right now. That's ridiculous. We are not currently at war. Why would we spend more than when we are at war? That doesn't make any sense. Senator Rand Paul called the spending cuts in the House wimpy. All right. Let's put it on the nose there, Rand Paul. He said, but I still would support the bill even with the wimpy cuts if they weren't going to explode the deficit. The problem is the math doesn't add up. They're going to explode the debt. An analyst at the Congressional Budget Office said the sweeping package would increase the deficit $3.8 trillion over the next decade. I hate when they do this. Every Republicans, Democrat, they do this over the next decade crap. They do it every year. How much is it going to blow out the deficit? Now. How much can we cut? Now. Because you can't tell me that you support what Doge is doing if you're going to take from Peter just to pay the Pentagon. That's a new slogan we should adopt. Instead of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, it's taking from Peter to give to the Pentagon. Doesn't seem to make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me, but once again, I am one of the little people. So this could face serious issues in the Senate. Look, we know that people like Lisa Murkowski are going to vote against it. Susan Collins, they'll vote against anything President Trump does. With Johnson and Paul, it's dead right there. And that's without McConnell. That's without the other fiscal hawks in the Senate. So there's going to be some serious changes. Some serious changes to this bill before it goes through. I hope that the issues with the bill that the Senate has to do with institutional cuts, not cutting the taxes. And I'm fairly certain that we'll be able to pick up people like Johnson and Bill Cassidy on that sort of policy. If we're able to cut enough from the budget, and the cuts need to be made. They absolutely need to be made. Speaking of things that need to be cut, let's talk about the Wisconsin judge. The Wisconsin judge that helped an illegal immigrant flee the scene of a crime. Before we get to that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for their mega sale. Giddy up, let's go. MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. What's up, everybody? Tim Huff, what's going on in the chat? Good to see you. Marie, how are you? Tim Freeman, how you doing? How are you doing? By the way, Tim, is Rob at work? Haha, I'm only kidding. Of course he's not. I'm only kidding. Mary, how are you? Sagan, how we doing? Jeremy, what's happening? Oh, Jeremy's in the chat. Now I got to be on my A game. The boss is here. Got to be on my A game. The boss is watching. I hope everybody had a lovely Memorial Day. As you can see, I am incredibly sunburned. Yeah, guys, you know, put on some sunscreen. This way you won't be absolutely burnt to a crisp like I am right now. It's not the lighting. I'm actually in a grotesque amount of pain. Got to go get some aloe. First nice weekend here in New York, and I decided that I was going to cook myself. That was, you know, in addition to the steaks, cooking on the barbecue, I also cooked me. So, yeah. Sucks to be Kevin right now. I can tell you that. Guys, once again, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out wherever you're watching. Repost it. Retweet it. Yeah, Tim, I'm cooked. I'm absolutely cooked. You know who else is absolutely cooked? This Wisconsin judge. Because it turns out, while she was deciding to skirt federal law by helping an illegal immigrant flee ICE protection, it turns out that in the Wisconsin courthouse, there are cameras everywhere. Will Cain over on Fox News did a great breakdown of this Wisconsin judge leading this illegal immigrant out the back door while ICE was waiting for him at the front door. You know, it's not looking good. Not pretty bad.
Milwaukee County Courthouse that shows the lengths to which she went to protect Eduardo Flores Ruiz, an illegal immigrant. In the prior footage, you saw her approach two ICE agents who were standing in the hallway and asked them to visit the chief judge's office. While they stepped out of the hallway, Flores steps into the hallway with his lawyer to make his escape. What Dugan and Flores don't realize is that there's a third ICE agent watching them as they walk down the hallway. He is surveilling them and picks up a tail the minute Flores walks past him in the hallway. Now remember, Dugan has already distracted two ICE agents, but she missed the third. Flores and his lawyer walk down to the basement and out the door, still tailed by an ICE agent. When he gets to the door, almost to street level, you're going to see exactly what happens. Remember, he's still being tailed by one ICE agent. But when he hits the street, that's when he moves into a full-out sprint. He's made his escape with the help of Judge Hannah Dugan. You can see quickly there, he is sprinting across the street. Other footage will show you then, from a different angle, he makes a sprint all the way down the street for a few hundred meters, chased by an ICE agent, until he is tackled and taken into custody. But this entire thing begins, Director, with the participation, the distraction of Judge Hannah Dugan, who's now facing charges of obstruction of justice. So, Director, I just want to get your reaction to that new video out in Milwaukee.
Yeah, Will, you know, it demonstrates something that we know already has been a common theme, especially under the previous administration, is that you have people in positions of authority and power who in their arrogance really believe that they can break the law, they can undermine the rule of law, and essentially in this case, I mean, yes, we talked about activist judges. She is clearly doing something to help someone who has already broken the law by entering our country illegally evade law enforcement who had him in their custody. And they've been able to get away with this for two reasons. Number one, there has been no transparency, and because there's been no transparency, there has been no accountability. And this is what we are seeking to bring about. This is what the responsibility and mission that I take very seriously is to shine a light, as has been done in this video, as has been done in the documents that we are declassifying, shine a light on areas and places that have not seen the light of day for a very long time and have allowed many bad actors within our own government to get away with either crimes or unconstitutional acts and undermining our God-given rights and freedoms that exist within the Constitution and that serve as the foundation of our republic. And the last thing I'll say on this, Will, is as we continue down this process, don't be surprised that we will see the very same playbook that has been used for a very long time in this country, where those very bad actors and their friends in the legacy and mainstream propaganda media will accuse us of the very things that they are guilty of in order to try to deflect away from how they and their actions are undermining the Constitution, the rights and freedoms and civil liberties of the American people.
I mentioned that Director Gabbard is used to long-form conversation. She's going to have another one with us here today because...
So, now there's videotape of her doing it. There should be no ambiguity here. She broke the law. Let's see if the administration has the balls to do what's necessary. Because, you know, I've been saying this for a while, and I know you guys have gotten annoyed with me about it. That these things are going to take time. And a lot of, believe me, I checked my messages. A lot of people did not like that answer. But everyone will have a breaking point. Some of you have already hit yours. Soon some other people will hit theirs. But something has to happen. Something has to happen. And I want to be clear, there is now a federal probe by the FBI into stuff that is important, but is not exactly at the high end of all of our priority lists. This is frustrating. This is incredibly frustrating. We'll get to it in 1 second. Once again, guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Share this video out wherever it is you may be watching it. If you're watching on Facebook, do me a favor. Put it in all your groups, okay? Just drop it in. Hit the share button. Share the group. Bing, bing, bing. Let's get those numbers up there. So the FBI, this bothers me because, like I said, last week I caught a lot of crap when I said, everybody breathe. It's been 120 days. Woosah. Everybody breathe. But over the weekend, Dan Bongino put out a tweet saying that the FBI is going to probe into the White House cocaine incident, the Dobbs SCOTUS leak, and the J6 pipe bombers. Now, I want to be very clear. These are all things that I care about. They absolutely are. I want to know about the January 6th pipe bomber. That seems like, you know, nobody knows who this person is. We have no information about them. Something seems a little fishy, no doubt. I'd like to know if Hunter Biden was doing blow in the White House. I think that would be interesting to know. I also would like to know which member of the United States Supreme Court had a staff member leak the decision that would overturn Roe versus Wade right before the midterms. These are all things I want to know. However, they are not nearly near the top. Okay? I'm talking Epstein. I want to know it all. I want everything to be declassified. They say there's no there with Jeffrey Epstein. Let's see it. I trust Dan Bongino and I trust Kash Patel. The problem is that when they put out tweets like this, it makes it seem like they are obfuscating. They are saying, look over here and ignore why you're mad over there. It's what it seems like to me. And I don't think putting this out is doing them any favors. Dan said, the director and I have evaluated a number of cases of potential public corruption that understandably have garnered public interest, and we have made a decision to either reopen or push additional resources and investigation attention. These cases are the D.C. pipe bomber investigation, the cocaine at the White House, and the Supreme Court leak. I have received request briefings on these cases weekly, and we are making progress. If you have any tips, call the FBI. I don't think they're doing themselves any favors here. I really don't. Like I said, I trust the two of them. I do. But the public's trust in them is going to wane the longer this takes. And I worry about that because people out there are incredibly cynical. Incredibly cynical, and I don't think I don't think this is good for the people themselves, but I also don't think it is good for the idea that we may actually be beginning to reform the institutions themselves. Guys, we'll be back in 1 second with a hilarious story. Here's one more from John Rich.
What do a neurosurgeon, a country artist, and a television and radio host have in common? They all saw the writing on the wall. Big banks sharing your financial information with big government. Join them as owners in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank that protects your privacy, security, and liberty. Invest today at own.oldglorybank.com.
Go to own.oldglorybank.com. So, before we wrap up today, guys, everybody be careful out there. Everybody be careful. It turns out there is a new COVID variant. There's a new COVID variant, everybody. Get out your masks, get your boosters ready. The COVID variant, NB.1.8.1, I guess that sounds like a new Windows 98 program, has hit the United States. Does anyone out there even remotely care? Cases of the new COVID-19 variant, linked to a large surge in China, have been detected across the United States, according to the CDC. Yeah, right. Hey, you're not getting me this time. But hey, feel free, guys, really, I mean this. Democratic states, people like Kathy Hochul, please, try locking us down again. We will skate directly into Governor Stefanik. Crossing my fingers, hoping that it happens. Guys, Will Johnson is coming up next. Who's ready for the Culture Wars? I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. Giddy up, let's go. Go to loudmajorityusa.com. Will Johnson coming up next. Until tomorrow, everybody, stay loud.